Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special week number 26 of the WiggyWam Get Your Property Questions Answered podcast and webinar series. I'm really thrilled that we have made it to 26 weeks because apparently in the online social media marketing world and with things like podcasts and all the rest of it, apparently when you get to episode 26, then you are in the top 1% of podcasts in the world, which is pretty incredible, really, when you think about it. So we're very pleased to have made 26 episodes, 26 weeks. And I want to thank you for all of your generous support, for sending all of your questions into us, and for being part of our journey, for all your comments on social media, and for sharing and liking our videos and sharing them again with your audiences and your followers, which is amazing. So we built up a real head of steam, I think, over the course of the last 26 weeks, and we want to continue with that in serving our audiences and serving people who are buying and selling homes or running property-related businesses. And we want WiggyWam to be a central feature of that for a lot of people. Now, we thought we'd do something a bit different this week. With all the chaos that's going on in the world right now, the banking crisis, the possible fall in house prices, or the catastrophe that may unfold in the housing market, if you listen to some pundits out there, we thought we'd do something really different this week, which is to answer a number of questions that we've had over the course of the last 26 weeks about actually what WiggyWam is, and why you should be part of it, or why you want to invest your time, effort, and money becoming part of the WiggyWam community. And I think this is going to be really special. So I'm going to go through a lot of these questions. There's quite a few that have come in, more than our normal 6 that we would do. So I'm going to blast through these quite quickly. So stay tuned, because this is going to be a pretty intense quick-fire round, I think, of questions and answers, all relating to the WiggyWam platform. So I'm going to encourage you to listen into this, because if you've seen these videos coming through to your email inbox, or you've seen posts on social media, and you've been a little bit curious, but you've never quite fully understood what is WiggyWam all about, well, I'm going to outline of that, all of that with the questions that we've had this week. So stay tuned as we blast through. So I'll kick off with the first question. Which is, why would I or anybody else use WiggyWam? Well, I think that the simple answer to that question is, it comes down to one word in essence, which is collaboration. And there's a big confusion in the marketplace that we are another portal, and that we're very much not that. We are a platform. And whilst that might sound as though it's a little bit of word play or word salad, what I can tell you is that a portal centers around just gathering properties in one place, and then home buyers or tenants looking online and then sending their inquiry through to the estate agent, and that's the portal's job done. We're more focused around the entire end-to-end transaction. Okay, so from the initial property search all the way through to actually completing the transaction, and working alongside the estate agents and the solicitors to make communication a lot more effective and a lot quicker and a lot simpler than the current processes that a lot of agents and solicitors employ. My view is that in the changing world that we have right now, a lot of clients want updates and they want them quick. And our system allows literally one-click updates to everybody involved in the process: the buyer, the seller, both sets of solicitors, and the estate agent. And that can all happen very, very quickly, as I say, with a click of a button, and literally cutting and pasting notes that you would put in your CRM system anyway, if you're a good estate agent or a good solicitor, dropping those into the WiggyWam platform and then clicking send. And that's an instant update without the need to spend endless hours on the phone or typing emails and all the rest of it. So we believe that will cut down your transaction, admin transaction, on around about 40%, I think, on each deal that you put through. Okay, so if you want more efficiency, and if you want better use of your time and better return on your money, as it were, then that is a major reason why I would suggest that you use WiggyWam. One of the other things that we built into the platform is we're very much passionate about education. And for anybody who, kind of was a bit like me, who went to school and you were really glad when school finished because you thought, that's it, I'm never going to have to worry about learning again. I can, coast through adulthood now, which seems to be really cool because you've got money and you can drive and you can go to the pub. That was kind of my thinking when I was younger. You kind of get through into adulthood and you realize, oh my God, okay, there's so much more to learn. And it's the same with buying and selling a property, I believe, and also running a business, a property-related business, is that there is so much to learn. And we focus a lot of resources within the platform around the actual home buying and selling process, about becoming a tenant or becoming a landlord, first-time landlords, property investors, for estate agents, lawyers, surveyors, mortgage brokers, etc., how to build and amplify your business in a way that really serves your community and your marketplace as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we built in there. I'm going to encourage you to check it out. Obviously, go to WiggyWam.co.uk, have a look at the site, have a play around with it, set yourself up a free account, and really start to get into it. Because what I've found, ladies and gentlemen, is that when people have done that and they've spent the time trawling through the site and having a bit of a play around with it, then they get some real gems of knowledge and they go, oh my God, okay, this is a lot bigger, a lot better, a lot more comprehensive than I thought it would be. Okay. And they're very passionate about becoming evangelists for what we have to offer. And I know those might sound like big words, but trust me, get yourself into the site, have a little bit of a look round, and you will, I think, be pleasantly surprised with what's available and pleasantly impressed. And as I say, we'd love to have you as part of the WiggyWam community. So get yourself involved in that. And let's move on to the next question. So next question is, what makes you so different? Okay, well, that's a great question in terms of what makes WiggyWam different. As I've mentioned in the previous question, a lot of it is centered around the end-to-end transaction and increasing the communication through a collaborative approach with everybody in the transaction, i.e. buyer, seller, both solicitors and estate agents, working together to keep that transaction together and hold it together whilst it goes over the line. I think what really makes us different in a lot of ways to other bits of property software that are out there right now is that you almost have a single point of responsibility, which is me, for want of a better expression. I'm putting myself forward here, which a lot of the other bits of software out that I've seen in the property industry are kind of almost, with respect, faceless organizations. Okay, so they don't really have somebody who's out there in the field day in, day out, who's producing content, putting it out there into the world, who's actually writing books and putting those out into the world and blog posts and all the rest of it, and also being part of the spearheading, if you like, of the consumer experience. And that really is my role within WiggyWam. And I think having that single point of responsibility and accountability is quite significant. And the reason I suggest that is because a lot of the complaints we've seen for particularly portals in online Facebook groups or social media groups, is that there is this concern that some portals are putting fees up every year without actually delivering a, shall we say, a corresponding increase in the value of the service that they're actually offering. And a lot of agents are getting pretty fed up with that. Now that's fine if you're a big faceless organization with a big board of directors and you don't really care about what people are saying about you online. But when you're a single individual who's put their heart and soul into this with a team behind me who have worked their absolute socks off to deliver what we think is an impressive software product to the marketplace, that becomes a little bit more uncomfortable when it's you in the firing line, as it were. And that's why I'm going to suggest that there is an element of control, shall we say, or a shift in balance of control back towards agents and solicitors and all the rest of it, because we can't afford to have bad reputations online, particularly with the way that word spreads right now. What we believe makes us more different than anybody else is actually that we listen to the community. So when somebody in the community says to us, have you guys thought about doing this? Or have you thought about doing that? Or this is a bit clunky, can we change this? Can we do maybe something a little bit more improved? Can we integrate with this service? We're all ears and open to that, because we believe that we're only going to grow by listening to our community and implementing what we think are the really good ideas that the community has brought to us and that we can implement effectively and that will deliver incredible value. So I think that there's a whole bunch of stuff here that, makes us different. I'm scratching the scratch of the surface, if you like. The fact that we're putting out books into the community as well, that is helping to increase knowledge within the WiggyWam community and the property industry as a whole, I think, is also pretty good. And if you also look, this is a bit of an aside, but if you look at the response that we're getting now in terms of the number of views and the number of engagements with the articles and the blogs that are being shared on our platform, you'll note that we're getting significantly greater traction than a lot of the other sites that have been established for a long period of time. What does that tell you? Maybe we're offering something of value that people are finding, incredibly useful and that they want to be part of and that they're enjoying gleaning some knowledge from. So I'm going to encourage you again, get on board with the site, have a play around, and let's see what you get out of that. And again, if there's any feedback you've got for us, guys, let us know, and we'll be happy to implement that into our site. Okay, moving on. Why do you feel now is the time to launch WiggyWam? Okay, well, that's a great question. This is, in terms of our launch, guys, this has been something that has plagued us a little bit, if you like. And I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with you, is that originally we were geared up to launch in March 2020. And it was literally about 2 weeks before COVID hit. And we were gearing up to do this launch and getting everything out there. You probably saw some of our PR that was going out at the time, and we were pretty enthused about getting out there into the marketplace. And all of a sudden, COVID comes along, and then market kind of stops. Everything hits a brick wall, and we're like, okay, now what's going to happen to the property market and estate agents and solicitors' practices and all the rest of it? And what has been really interesting is to note a very quick change in the way people were working. A lot of people were working from home, well, having to, because they weren't allowed to go into the office. And then transactions stopped, and then the market took off again. In between that time, there were then another, probably, I think it was about 4 different portals, or they were called challenger portals at the time, were then coming to the table all at the same time. And we were like, oh my God, we've been developing this project for years, right? Why all of a sudden have these guys just come to the market and said, we can offer something better than, some of the big 3 portals? And it was like, what on earth has happened here? We've gone from 3 main portals, and we were going to come through as a challenger, to now all of a sudden we've got 4 or 5 different challenger portals, including 1 or 2 that had big bucks to spend on TV advertising and all the rest of it. I won't mention their name, but you probably know who they are. And what has been interesting to note is how many of those people or businesses are still standing at the end of this intense 2 to 3 year period as we've gone through COVID and now come out the other side. And I put a lot of pride in the fact that, we took a slightly different stance, which was to retrench ourselves and look at our software offering and look at what we were bringing to the marketplace. And at the time, we made some fairly major tweaks, to be honest with you, in terms of the updating of the software system, what it was actually capable of, adding some additional components, and then again, of course, backing it all up with the books that we were sort of writing at the time, or had as ideas at the time, to educate the marketplace in a greater way. And that was a pretty major thing. And also highlighting the change in the marketplace brought together, I think, the fundamentally biggest thing that needs to change in the property industry, which is transaction times. And what was slowly becoming more and more of a problem in terms of the time scale of which, from making an offer to actually picking up the keys, extended to a point where now people are fed up. And we've highlighted now what is, some of the major bottlenecks in terms of getting a deal done and getting solicitors and estate agents their fees paid, but also more importantly, their clients, the ones who are paying for it all, actually getting their keys in their hands to their new home as soon as possible. Okay. So it's been a really lengthy journey. I think we've seen some of the people come to the marketplace and dispel a myth. As I said, one of our potential competitors came to the marketplace, blew multi-millions of pounds worth on TV advertising budgets, radio budgets, and all the rest of it. And that business model ultimately failed. And I think that is testament to the fact that the old ways of doing things, i.e., razzmatazz, lots of eyeballs through TV and press advertising, ultimately hasn't proven to be worthwhile for one of our other competitors, shall we say. So I do think that now is the right time to launch WiggyWam. There's been a change in market practices. We are streamlining our services to be able to offer a conveyancing concierge service is one of the core components of what we offer, which is to get your property transaction done inside of 6 weeks. Okay. Now, if you look at most other law firms out there, they're going to tell you that, that's not going to be possible. It's not going to be able to be done within 4 to 6 months. And we're saying 6 weeks will be the transaction time. Okay, so I think there's a big demand for what we're offering and what we're bringing to the marketplace. And we're calling it basically the new way of buying and selling a home. It's something that is on the cards. It is going to be coming more and more to the fore. It is centered around upfront information. It is centered around getting your searches back as quickly as possible, indemnifying your transaction so that you're not then held to ransom at the 11th hour because you spent thousands of pounds with legal fees, and then your buyers threaten to pull out. That gives you a lot more power in your hands as to why you actually want to be working the WiggyWam way rather than going back to do the traditional way, which is 26 weeks and a load of headaches and a load of stress and anxiety. And then, you buy your property, but you end up completely stressed out as a result of it. Okay. So I do think now is the time to be fully launching WiggyWam, and I am really pleased with what we've created as a product and all the other component parts that fit into it. And I'm really excited that those agents and those solicitors and those members of the public that are coming into WiggyWam, experimenting with the site, looking at it, are going, yeah, you've got something pretty amazing here. It was described actually as the closest thing to a perfect solution by somebody who I hold in very high regard, and I'm very grateful that they said that about our site, which is, it's taken a lot of time, effort. This isn't just an overnight thing. This has taken years to get to this point. But, when somebody pays you that sort of compliment, it gives us a lot of confidence that we're on the right track. And it's now just about building that audience of estate agents, solicitors, surveyors, mortgage brokers, buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords, and property investors, and bolting them all into this one centralized hub, which is specific for property. Okay, so hope that answers that question, and let's move on to the next one. Thank you very much. So this one is more of a statement. You will do as the other portals have done. You'll get us hooked into your site and then hike up our subscription fees. Okay, well, thank you for that statement, but I can fundamentally guarantee that that's not true, and that's not going to be the way that we're going to conduct ourselves in WiggyWam. Now, if you look at, I'll tell you the reason why for that. If you look at the revenue model of portals, for example, their revenue model really stems from serving the estate agent and charging the agent for their data feed, okay, of properties that are coming into their site, and then offering them sort of premium packages, if you like, of different services and all the rest of it. But the key issue is that they've literally got one client who's paying them a fee. And in some cases, those portals are then deciding to hike up the fees that they're charging in order to generate more revenue. Okay, where we're very different is that we are centered around serving almost everybody in the property industry. So estate agents, solicitors, mortgage brokers, surveyors, buyers and sellers, etc., etc. As a response, or as a result, should I say, we have the potential for multiple revenue streams coming into the business. And that's just being very frank with you about what we're actually offering here. So it's not a case that we have one stream of income, and then in order to maximize that stream of income, we need to charge a smaller group of people more and more money. That just doesn't sit well with us. It also, I don't think, sits well with the agents who are being forced into that situation and who are being charged more and more for the same or lesser standards of service. Okay, and that's where I feel very strongly about this, and it's one of our ethoses. Our fees would only increase if we were bringing more value to the table. Okay, and we don't know what that might look like in 5 or 10 years. Whether that is, I don't know, AI is quite profound right now. Okay, so whether that's an AI bot that does something or other and fast tracks the service within 2 weeks instead of 6, well, maybe there's a slight premium to be able to cover the cost of developing that technology. I don't know. It's not something that we've got right now, but you can understand the point I'm trying to make here, which is we would only increase that level of service based on the additional services that we would then bring to the marketplace. So I hope that makes sense. All right. But thank you for your comment. I totally understand your concern, but that's not our business model. Okay, we'll leave that to other people. Another sort of statement: it will take too long for you to grow your audience, to grow an audience on your site, and we need to generate leads now. Okay, great. So I presume that's coming from an estate agent in terms of that statement there. This is a really interesting point to address, which is building an audience on something like WiggyWam. Now, if you look at what most traditional social media marketing is all about, okay, you're creating groups on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever, okay, and you're using that in order to sort of develop this audience. And the challenge with a lot of these other sites is that there are many, many, many layers of distraction, okay? And what I mean by that is, let's say you're an estate agent and you set up a Facebook page and you start posting property details on there, which I see a lot of agents doing, right? The challenge you've got is that listing comes up on somebody's feed for maybe 2 seconds, maybe if you're lucky, 5 seconds, if it catches their eye and they take an interest. But then the next video that comes up is a funny cat video, or it's a picture of somebody's dinner, or somebody's won an award. Okay, and the challenge you've got is that, as I say, there's multiple different distractions. So what's the impact that your marketing is really making in that moment? And I would argue it's negligible. And this is why we're passionate about what WiggyWam is, because it is the only property-centric platform in the marketplace. Okay, now when you think about it like that, people who are coming to WiggyWam are specifically looking for property, or they have a property-related challenge that they're trying to solve, or they're looking for a property-related tradesman or professional body, or property-related professional, or property-related education. Do you see what I'm saying? This is all centered around a hub that is specific for property. Okay, and you, as a consequence, you have a far higher targeted audience that you're putting material out there, which is meeting. Okay, so I'm trying to give you that as an example to let you know that, you know, the challenge with these other sites is, as I say, multiple layers of distraction, whereas we are more property specific. And as a consequence, the benefits for you growing an audience on there are multiplied. And I would encourage you to look at the difference in the way that WiggyWam is operating compared to other portals, for example. Now, if you look at a portal, it's an aggregator of property data, and it puts all these property listings in a nice, neat list, okay? And that's filterable on bedroom size or property value and all the rest of it, or area, etc., right? Now, if you look at the individual agent on that site, they are lost in what I call the sea of obscurity, okay? There's, as far as the punter is concerned, that they're scrolling through all this information online, and there is nothing to differentiate each individual agent on that site. So it takes a while for somebody to click through to then be presented with your logo and maybe some contact details, all of which are funneled through one system. Whereas if you look at what WiggyWam is doing, when you're putting stuff out there onto WiggyWam, not only are you listing your properties, for example, but you're also sharing your content. And we believe in putting the agents front and center on the platform, okay? That has a very significant difference, because now you're exposing more of the personality of the business, or more of the personality of the individual agent who's on that site. Think about the way the estate agent model is going right now. It's moving more towards individual agents. It's moving more towards a, shall we say, a stateside or Australian model, okay? Now, when you're putting all this content out there, you're putting your blogs out there, you're putting your podcasts out there, whatever else it might be, you're sharing your little updates, et cetera, all of that is centered around your profile, where somebody can search you out as an individual. And then, okay, we can see all of the content that you're putting on there. So if somebody's looking to list their property and they can see a full transparent issue or full transparent, shall we say, history of everything that you shared all in one place, do you think it adds confidence to them that you're the right agent to help and support them in selling their property? And I would argue 100% yes. And that's something you're not going to get with other sites that are out there right now. Okay, so that is a big thing. And the important thing about lead generation, boys and girls, I want to share with you right now is that we're now entering a time in the marketplace where a lot of people will start to cut back on their advertising and their marketing. And I think that's a major mistake. Now is the time that you want to really double down. You want to really concentrate on lead generation. If you want to know how to do it, we wrote these books for you, Estate Agent Secrets, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. It shows you exactly how to do it in those books. Okay, and if you're a solicitor or a surveyor, I'd highly recommend you get those books because the format is pretty much the same, regardless of your business. It's all property related, and that will help you to start developing everything that you need to do in order to start generating leads and a following and an audience. Okay, it is very quick and easy to offer massive value to your current mailing list, okay, to flush out leads by sending your entire mailing list a link to set up their WiggyWam profile. Okay, or to join WiggyWam. Why would people want to join? Well, because of all the additional resources that we've talked about earlier that will help them with their home moving journey. Okay, it doesn't take you long to get on board as a WiggyWam partner, for example, and offer this book to your audience. Okay, again, that is a revenue generator for your business. And if that's something that interests you and appeals to you, if you're following the guidance that we're suggesting in here for your clients, you're also going to be able to demonstrate that you're far more knowledgeable than other agents in your area and accordingly start to charge a premium for that. Okay, so think about it two ways. You're generating a premium from the clients that are listing with you, and you're also generating income from people who are otherwise perhaps static on your mailing list. That's something to think about. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to look at that quite seriously on WiggyWam. Look at, join the site, play around with it, look at what you can actually do, and you'll begin to see quite quickly how you can build your audience and your following to generate the leads that you need. In fact, I guarantee they're probably sitting there on your mailing list. They're just not being flushed out as effectively as they could be. Okay, so hope that helps. And let's move on to the next question. I've had a look at your site and it looks as though if we set up an account, it would need maintaining. We already have enough to do. What would your thoughts be on how we can do this effectively? Okay, well, great question. In terms of the accounts that you will set up for your business, yes, there will be a certain amount of maintenance and involvement that needs to be done. Now, what I would suggest that you do with WiggyWam is to have a browser tab that's open and just have your WiggyWam profile live and open on there during the course of the day. Now, you'll get notifications and alerts. You can check it every so often as you would your Facebook or your LinkedIn, for example. But the important point about setting up that profile is that you can then start adding your content, which you should be doing realistically as a professional, is adding content marketing to the site or sharing other bits of content that are on there with your target audience, okay? And that can be done within seconds. Literally type in quick messages and tagging the link to the article or the blog or the video series or the training series that you want to share with your audience, okay? So I will say that, yes, there is an element of involvement that is required, but I think it's a far more leveraged approach than what you would get with any other social media platform because it's all property centric and it's all revolves around you as the individual or the business rather than, as I say, being lost in the sea of obscurity. So I appreciate we've all got a million things to do. I think it's all about where you invest your time to do what you do effectively or more effectively that will bring you the leads that you need for your business and will bring you the shall we say, the return on time invested. And my view is very much, you've probably heard me say this on a couple of other webinars, which is do the work once, get paid forever. Okay, do the work once, get paid forever. And that's very much what we're trying to suggest that you do and use WiggyWam for as far as that's concerned. Moving on, I feel somewhat uncomfortable about asking existing contacts to join your site. How do I explain WiggyWam? Okay, well, that's a great question. How do you explain it to other people? So if you're an agent or solicitor or mortgage broker or surveyor, how do you explain WiggyWam to other people? And short of sending them this webinar series of videos, what I would suggest that you do is that you mention to them that it is the UK's only property-related platform, okay, that is designed to speed up your house moving journey. Okay, that's probably the best way we could summarize it as quickly as possible. That it also applies for professionals or buyers, sellers, tenants, landlords, etc., etc. Okay. We will shortly be putting out some videos as well in relation to quick tours of the site and what it can do as sort of explainer videos, if that makes sense, that you can also share with your audience. But what I find particularly powerful is when, just to give you a parallel, right? If you go to, well, I'll give you an example actually from what happened on Sunday, right? So Sunday morning, we went out with some friends, we went for breakfast, and we just sat there in conversation as you do, and we happened to mention that we've been watching this series called Race Around the World, right? And it's interesting when you make these little recommendations, oh, you should check it out. Now, what I've done there is I've given them a little bit of background as to why I enjoyed the program, for example, but I'm not telling them in intricate detail about that particular series, right? Same with a film. Like if you go and watch, for example, I don't know, if you're into John Wick, for example, you might go and watch that film, or Jurassic Park, or whatever else it might be. You watch the film, you enjoy the experience, and then you just make a recommendation to other people. And this is particularly powerful with WiggyWam, is that the best way to explain WiggyWam would be to become a user of WiggyWam. It's a bit like, why would people join Facebook? Well, because my friends are on there, right? Well, if you've joined WiggyWam, you're a friend inviting a friend. Okay, this is something I found really useful for my business. I recommend you check it out. Okay, that's just a basic recommendation that you would make for any film or any restaurant or any book or any bit of software that you use. I'd highly encourage you to put that recommendation out there to your network and then see who comes back, because as more and more of your friends and contacts and professional associates join the site and you start to build up that audience, you're going to see a lot more of the power of WiggyWam come forward, okay, in terms of the marketplace listings or recommendations or stuff that gets mentioned in forums where somebody says, I need help with this, and somebody says, well, go and speak to this person, okay? They're recommending you for more business. So I think you don't need to go into in-depth, and that's one of the temptations of trying to explain a new bit of software, is trying to explain all of what it does. And I seem to remember back in, goodness me, was it 2006, I think, or was it, yeah, about 2000, no, maybe 2005, actually, when I first joined Facebook. All I got was literally a one-line email from a friend of mine that says, I've currently signed up to Facebook, check it out. And you go and check it out, you set up a free profile, and you start to get into it, and you're like, why would I use this? Why would I use this, right? And then, time goes on, and now all of a sudden it probably becomes the biggest time suck of everybody's day, So don't have to worry about getting into too much detail or feeling too uncomfortable. Just recommend people check it out and let the site do the rest. All right. Thank you very much. Moving on, I've had a play with your site, and it looks as though we would have to create promotional messages for our social media and emails, etc. And we'll also need to create regular new content to keep our WiggyWam profile fresh. Is there any way that we can fast track the production of all of this content and messages? Okay, well, that's a great question, and thank you for that. What I would say to you, there's a couple of avenues that we can explore on this one. First, in terms of creating all your marketing message and all the rest of it, again, I'm going to refer you to Estate Agent Secrets. We've listed the entire process there about how to create valuable bits of content for your business that you can put out on social media, whether it's WiggyWam or Facebook, Instagram, whatever else it might be. But you're putting that information out there online that will really, really help you. In terms of generating content, I mean, in today's world, there really is no excuse now not to think about what it is that would interest people in terms of what they want to watch. And I say this for my benefit as well as anybody else, because sometimes you sit there going, what are we going to write about this week? But in terms of the availability of technology now to drive the production of content that is valuable to your audience, this is absolutely the best time in history to be living in. Okay, so in terms of generating fresh content and all the rest of it, yes, absolutely. that is key, I think, not just for WiggyWam, but for any business now. You need to be generating new content and putting it out there online. Now, you can do something similar to what we do, which is, a Zoom conference, for example, record that and then put that out online. You can cut up and edit the videos through something like iMovie or any other bit of software, and again, post it all online. You can shoot quick clips on your mobile phone, again, upload that, post it online. You can even use AI technology now to effectively write blogs, and then you can put those blogs online as valuable bits of content. Now, what I would encourage you to do if you're going to use something like AI to write your blogs is that get them to do the outline and then you flesh it out, because what I found with the AI technology is that it's very good for creating logical bits of content, but it doesn't really add the thoughts, feelings, emotions from the human side. And that's something I think you need to throw into your content to make it fresh. Okay, so it is important, not just for joining WiggyWam, but if you're going to be at the forefront of being a masterful property professional, that you are going to need to produce content or share other bits of content that other people have created that will help your audience in a way that, that they'll find incredibly valuable. Okay, so definitely get involved with that. And I think you'll notice it helps your business. And one of the things that's really interesting about this, talking to other property professionals, is that you can create a piece of content now, okay, in 2023, that somebody might not see until 2 years later, all right, when they're searching for that particular property problem, or they've got that particular issue and they read your blog posts and they go, this person knows exactly what they're on about, I want to work with them. All right. And as I said before, you do the work once and get paid forever. That's exactly why I recommend putting this content out there. I think Russell Brunson, one of the great internet marketing gurus, said if you publish every day, you'll never have to worry about money again. And I think there's actually a lot of truth in that. If you can create good content, put it out there online. And trust me, one of the big things I've seen with WiggyWam is that we get enormous amounts of views and engagements and interactions on a lot of the stuff that's put out there on our site. And if you look at a lot of some of the people that are posting stuff on our site, they've got their own personal websites that aren't getting anywhere near as much traffic and traction and engagement as what we're getting on our site right now. Okay, and that's because we've got a big mailing list at the back of it. We've got a big following both nationally and internationally, and people are consuming this content. They're engaging with it. We're getting the comments and the feedbacks and the likes and all that sort of thing, which is vanity metrics. But ultimately, it's what that leads to, which is, you as an individual becoming more and more valuable in terms of the knowledge that you share. And I think a lot of people get sidetracked with this whole idea that I've got to come up with something mind-blowing, or I've got to come up with something that's, totally unique as a piece of content. The honest truth is that if you listen to what your clients are telling you on a daily basis or saying to you on a daily basis, the things they're struggling with, the things that they're not sure of, the things that they are providing a headache for them, okay, those are the sorts of things that are valuable for you to write a piece of content about, or create a quick video, share it online, and start to answer those questions. So when somebody comes to you as perhaps a new client, you can go, well, I thoroughly recommend you check out a full archive of videos on WiggyWam, or a full blog articles on WiggyWam, because they will answer a lot of your questions about the process, and you're providing a massive store of information for free. Okay, but not the value that gives to your client is off the charts incredible. Okay, so hope that helps and gives you some idea of where I think you should go with all of this with joining WiggyWam. But I'm so passionate about it, guys. I love sharing the knowledge and information, and I recommend you do the same and watch the impact that has on your business. Okay. Okay, next question. How do we know it's not just our data you are after? Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for whoever submitted that. I know with a lot of other portals and all the rest of it, the key part is this data sharing or hoarding of data and then selling it to the highest bidder is big business now. And there's a lot of talk about it being, we're not in the we're in the kind of information exchange era where there's more value in collecting that data than there is in actually producing a product or service. And I can honestly say to you guys, the amount of data that we collect within WiggyWam is very, very minimal. Okay, and it's precisely because me and my business partners, we are of the mindset that we don't want this done to us. So why would we do it to other people? Yes, there's a financial motive in doing so, but money isn't everything, okay? And it really isn't everything when it comes to data gathering and, being a little bit hooky or shifty behind the scenes and sharing that data with a whole bunch of other people for, crossing our palms with silver. That's not what we're interested in, okay? What we want is to provide the UK's #1 and best property platform, okay? That integrates the entire buying and selling or letting and management system for the UK property market. Okay, that's enough to go at in its own right. We don't need to, get your bits of data and start. I think Facebook's got like 50,000 data points on every one of us. We couldn't even go anywhere close to building something like that because we've got more valuable things that we want to spend our time, effort, and energy on. Okay, so we believe that we should be rewarded for the value that we provide to our marketplace in terms of the products, services, and tools that we're providing, not through doing some kind of hooky trade based on personal data collection in the background. Because again, why would you? We wouldn't want it done to us. And in fact, I'm one of these people. This is absolutely genuine, and it drives my partner mad. Every site that I go on, I decline all the cookies, and she's just like, "Oh, just accept it, just accept it." I'm like, "No, I don't want to be tracked all around the internet. Not that I've got anything to hide, but personal privacy is important to me." Okay. And some people will say, "Well, they've already got all your data anyway." Well, that may be so, but I don't want to have the experience that a lot of other people have had, where they've gone online, where on, should we say, Facebook, and they've been talking in the house about getting a new toaster, for example, and Alexa's heard that, and the first thing they're seeing when they go onto Facebook is adverts for new toasters. That whole idea freaks me out, okay? And I do not want to have those kind of experiences where I'm feeling like the, internet is breathing down my neck, tracking my every movement. Okay, that's it's just not what I'm interested in at all. So, your data, you're welcome to keep it. It's entirely up to you. You don't have to join WiggyWam. You don't have to plug into our systems. That's, as I say, entirely up to you. But I guarantee that the amount of data that we hold on each individual user is absolutely negligible. Okay, it is only the data that is required to provide a gateway into the site, which is usually name and email. Okay, so yeah, you can forget about that. We don't believe in collecting data for data's sake. There's absolutely no point in that, and you'll feel free to refuse all the cookies and that sort of thing as you enter our site. Okay, so I hope that helps to answer that confidently and gives you some confidence in what we're offering as far as WiggyWam is concerned. Okay, next question. If we were to join WiggyWam, we would need some kind of integration with our system or our website, which will cost money. How do you handle this? Well, that is a really great question, and I'm quite passionate about how agents and others integrate with WiggyWam as a site, because we did a lot of research on this, and it is a few years ago now, to be fair, but we did a lot of research into the CRM systems in particular that agents are using, because it made sense to us to approach the CRMs and get them to plug into WiggyWam, and then we could have the data feed for properties coming into our site, and that would make things a lot easier. And we did a research on all of the CRMs that were available for agents at that time. And at the time, as I say, there were probably about 40 CRMs that agents were using. Okay, and the average cost per month was about £91 a month, depending upon which system you went for. Now, what I found really interesting about this is that out of all these different 40 CRM systems, the top 8 systems were owned by ZPG, which is Super Property Group. And as you can imagine, there is a potential conflict of interest with ZPG providing data to another platform or portal that might then challenge their leadership position, shall we like, in the world of portals. And you are right that when you look at this and you look at what the impact is on the agents and their business, is that those CRM systems will limit the sort of sharing of data with other sites. And they'll say that they won't, because they'll just say, oh, well, all you need to do is pay us like an integration fee, or an API fee, shall we say, and then maybe a cost per month. But the costs are so prohibitive. But when you look at sites like Rightmove, for example, they're not actually being charged the same amount of money to provide that data to them. Okay, so it's a little bit unfair and a bit unbalanced, as one would probably expect. You know, if we were in the same position and we'd bought all the CRM systems, would we then feel as though we could, implement the same tactics? I'm not suggesting that we would, but that's just, me. I think there should be fair and transparent pricing, but again, that's just me. So we've had to work on a workaround. If your CRM system won't share that data on a cost-effective basis, because obviously the key thing for us at WiggyWam is we want to keep your cost of participation to a minimum. You know, we don't want to come to you and say, well, yeah, you can plug into our system, but it's going to cost you $5,000 for the integration, because that's what your CRM system's charging us to get that data, you know. And we don't want to say it's going to cost you £1,000 a month, because that's what your CRM system's, charging us to get the data. We don't want to add that burden to your cash flow. And I think it's a little bit cheeky when you're the agent who's had to go out and work really hard to gather all that data together, and then you're restricted as to who you can share that data with. I think that's a bit naughty, to be honest with you, but that's just my humble opinion. So the key point here is that we've worked very, very hard to find a solution that will allow us to work around the issues with CRM systems blocking the sharing of your data with other people. So if you're in that position where you want to join WiggyWam and you want to get on board with what we're doing, then we have got the solution for that. I'm not going to declare what it is exactly on a webinar like this, but if you are an agent and you do want to plug into WiggyWam, get in contact with us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. That's happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. Put CRM integration in there. And once your CRM is integrated into WiggyWam, you're going to see a very different experience in terms of what WiggyWam is able to offer you, okay? And as I say, the cost is negligible, but you'll be blown away by what you see. You'll be like, oh my God, I did not know that the site could do this, okay? And that's the bit that I'm really excited about for you guys as agents, to see a very different way of working with the site. So I hope that answers that question. Give us a bell, or get in touch with us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk if you would like to plug into our software and have a test drive of it, so you can experiment with it and see what it's all about. Okay. Another one that's a bit of a statement, but we have tried other new portals with little success. Will it not be the same with yours? Okay, well, that's a really great point to make. And I totally understand that, as I say, some agents have tried some of these new portal offerings that have been put out there into the marketplace. And I want to stress very strongly that we are not a portal, okay? To give you that definition again, a portal is very limited in terms of the listing of the properties. And then once a client has found a property that they're interested in, they then reach out and make contact with the agent to arrange a viewing or get further details on it, etc. We are a property platform which is centered around taking the transaction not just from the searching for the property, but actually the finding of the property, the making the offer, and then fast tracking that transaction through to completion. Okay, so there's so much more that's built into the site in terms of tools and education and videos and blogs and as I say, an entire suite of tools that sit in the background there to help you get the deals done faster. That's really important for agents and solicitors to boost their cash flow for their business, particularly when we're in this period that we are right now, where the market will begin to slow down, and that will have a massive impact on their cash flow. Okay, so the key point I'm trying to make here is that whilst you might have had little success with other new portals that have been coming through, the benefit that we offer is a massive improvement to your cash flow by getting transactions done a lot quicker. Not only that, we offer a, shall we say, a partnership program or an affiliate program to people that want to participate, and that's not mandatory. If you want to join it, you can. If you don't have to. But by joining that program, you are then able to obtain affiliate fees for other products and services that we offer, okay, which, you've only got to, sell one or two of them to your target audience in order to get your entire month's subscription to WiggyWam paid for, which I think is phenomenal. Okay, can't say fairer than that, that if we're offering you the incredible suite of tools that we are within WiggyWam, that you can then get your fees paid back really, really quickly as a result of working with us, then to me, that's a complete no-brainer, and it ought to be something that you're grabbing with both hands and running with. Okay, so I don't know, as I say, what success or not you've had. You've mentioned little success with other systems, but I'd encourage you to reach out and try us out. You know, we can bolt you in with a free trial period of WiggyWam, see how you feel about it, plug your property data in there, get to play with some of the things like the workspaces, get to offer some of the suites of services that we're offering to the marketplace, to your clients. And you're going to find some really cool things that even if people are buying or selling properties through other people, or other agents or other solicitors, if you're selling our services to them, you're the one that then gets that fee. Okay, so we're more centered around increasing the profitability of agents and solicitors and mortgage brokers and surveyors, for example, but we're also interested in giving them additional cash for helping to sell those other services as well. Okay, and I think it's really important that we focus on that, particularly as I say, the market gets harder, cash flow dries up. You know, most agents will, and solicitors and other businesses will be cutting staff, they'll be cutting overhead, okay, to weather the storm. They'll be doing less marketing and less exposure of their business, and that is going to have an impact on their cash flow and their bottom line. Ultimately, the best way to beat that challenge is to go the other way, in my humble opinion. You need to look at more revenue generating strategies. You need to look at more advertising and marketing strategies to bring more business to you as fast as possible. So I hope that helps that in answering that question. Really appreciate you sending it through. Let's move on. Great question here. So I know that some portals will filter leads that they receive. Will you be the same as far as that is concerned? The answer to that is absolutely not. We do not interfere with any of your leads that you get through the site. So whether you're a tradie, a Sparky, a plumber, a painter and decorator, whether you're a solicitor, a surveyor, mortgage broker, estate agent, letting agent, or anybody else connected with the property industry, if you are offering your services on WiggyWam and you want to inquire to, you receive an inquiry from somebody who's part of the community about your products and services, we do not filter that at all. Okay, and the reason we don't do that is because people can make contact with you directly inside the platform. Okay, they haven't got to call a third-party premium rate phone number to get in contact with you. Okay, they can just message you directly. All right, there's a whole bunch of tools that we've built in for communication as well, I should point out, within the site that let's say, for example, somebody is not a native English-speaking person. They can go on the site, they can type in their native language, and the messages will come through to you fully translated in English, okay, or any other language that you desire. And that, I think, is a really, really cool tool that we've built in there. But if you want to do phone calls through the site, if you want to do video calls through the site, if you want to do presentations and meetings through the site, you can do all of that because we've built the tools in there for you to collaborate and communicate as quickly as possible. Okay, if you want to direct message anybody within the site, you can do that. As I say, we don't filter that out. We don't charge a premium for it. We're not interested in that. What we're interested in is building that community that really serves one another. Because if you think about it this way, you know, every painter, decorator, plumber, surveyor, solicitor, letting agent, we all need somewhere to live, right? And why not combine that with the UK's first and #1 property platform, okay, where everybody can start to do that work directly with one another inside the comfort of the property hub there. Okay, that's what I think is more important to focus on, rather than us trying to interfere, you know, with any kind of leads that you might be generating. We're not interested in that. Okay, everybody who markets their business on the site pays a fee, and I think they should receive massive value from us as a result of doing that, and that's precisely what we offer. So I hope that helps to answer that question. The one question here that's come in says, I am jumping from one social media platform to another, or one Facebook group to another. Where should I really be focusing my time and efforts? That's a great question. In terms of the problem that is now growing out of social media marketing, which is that you are having to monitor all of these different groups or all these different profiles or all of these different platforms in terms of trying to generate leads, or trying to put your content out there into, the ether in the hope that it hooks people and brings them back. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, the main challenge you've got is that you're putting stuff out there which is property related, and it gets lost in a sea of obscurity to everything else that's going on in that person's data feed. So whether it's a picture of somebody's dinner, or a picture of somebody, at a nightclub, or a photo of their dog, or they're out on a walk, or whatever else it might be, your sharing is getting lost in that sea of obscurity of a million other things that's going on in a million other people's lives. The other thing I'm noticing, which I will just mention right now, is that there is a real problem on a lot of platforms now, social media platforms, should I point out, where they are limiting the reach of your posts. And the reason they're doing that is because they want you to pay more for you to share your posts with other people. So, your stuff you're putting out on Twitter, for example, will only be live for probably 20 or 30 people that in terms of your entire audience. I don't know if that's an accurate number. I'm just presuming, but you're only getting an exposure to that small number of people, and then that tweet is gone for good. It's the same with your Facebook posts, for example. You're putting stuff out there, it's online, it's on the platform, and after a short period, it goes away. Okay, and the real challenge is that you're not getting the reach and exposure that you need unless you're prepared to pay for it. And I think that's a bit of a problem. We don't do that with WiggyWam. That's not something, again, that we're interested in. If you're sharing stuff online, that is stuff that's essential to you. It's shared on your profile, and it's shared then into the community online, and that stuff stays there forever. We're not interested in charging you more to boost your post or anything like that. It's absolutely irrelevant as far as we're concerned. What we do want is good quality content that you're sharing that really helps people. The only time we will ever interfere is if you post something that is naughty, and I don't think I need to expand on that, but if you're posting any kind of spam or any kind of nonsense like that, then of course we'll intervene and get rid of you. Well, it won't be us, it'll be actually the community that will report you, and that'll be kind of 3 strikes and you're out, unless it's really, really bad stuff that you're sharing. That's the only time that we will ever interfere. So the point of giving you that long-winded answer is actually directing your time and efforts ought to be done, in my humble opinion, through a property-specific site, which is exactly what WiggyWam is. You get all the benefits of every other social media site, but it's all centered around one common theme, which is property. Okay, so hope that helps to answer your question there. And another follow-up question of a similar line is that I'm already on numerous social media platforms and groups. Why would I add another? Well, that's, again, a great question, and I totally understand where you're coming from. It seems like all we're doing with WiggyWam is creating an awful lot more work when you're already doing this stuff online. But as I've just mentioned, the key problems is limited reach on your posts, additional costs if you want to increase that reach. Okay. The other thing I'm noticing as well, which is definitely worth a mention, and I can only speak from my own personal experiences, but whenever I go on Facebook now, what is coming up for me is sponsored. Like every other post is a sponsored post. And then, if that's not bad enough, I'm getting recommended for you. I'm not interested in that. What are my friends and family and that sort of thing? What are they sharing that's out there that's unique that I haven't seen that I want to get involved with? And all of that sort of stuff is being sidelined because of an agenda to try and sell me more stuff based around sponsored ads. Okay. And again, that's, if you look at that from your business's point of view, it's hammering your reach of the stuff that you're sharing. And again, you won't find that on WiggyWam. We're not interested in putting sponsored ads on there and all that sort of stuff. It has to be property-specific, property-central stuff that we put out there, shall we say, the audience will put out there that provides value, and that is all we're interested in. Okay, so I would respectfully suggest, if you're serious as a property professional, your stuff ought to be on WiggyWam. Okay, share it with the community, start to get feedback, start to get engagement. You'll quickly find that you can put a post on our blog section, for example, and it wouldn't be untoward for you to get 40 or 50 hits on that within 24 hours. that's pretty major, I think, for a lot of people who have had the experience as well of they've posted stuff online and they've got zero engagement, zero views, zero likes, zero shares, whatever else it might be. And that quickly becomes disheartening. We need that kind of bit of validation, right? And you'll find that definitely on WiggyWam. So focus your efforts there. And then if you want to share from WiggyWam to these other sites, feel free to do so. But the point is you're building an audience within a closed property-specific environment, which is a lot more effective than just the scattergun approach of putting it out on social media to only hit a handful of your local contacts. Next one here, we can't afford new portals fees or to drop any of the existing portals because our clients simply won't use us. Okay, well, I understand the concern centered around that question. And I get where you're coming from. And there is this big misnomer, I think, for a lot of agents in particular, as you mentioned, Rightmove and Zoopla, that the clients will not use them if they're not on these major sites, because these major sites have made this link in clients' minds that, you know, if your agent's successful, they're on our site. And of course, they're going to say that because they want your business on those sites, right? But what I'm seeing more and more looking into a lot of these social media groups is that those agents who have been bold enough to walk away from one or other or all three platforms have actually not seen a corresponding dip in the level of service that they're, or the level of business, should I say, that they're getting from their clients. And that, I think, is really telling. And it's not just one or two people saying this. I've read quite literally hundreds and hundreds of posts of people that have had the confidence to drop one or two of these portals or more and set out their own stall and go, do you know what, this is what we stand for. This is what we're going to build our business around. We're building it around service. We're not just building it around this idea that we're just going to post a property online and it will sell itself and we can just walk off into the sunset. We're actually going to get back to traditional estate agency. And that is really important because, you know, as a traditional estate agent, you don't need me to tell you that you're working on the people that are coming through your door or that are picking the phone up or that are emailing inquiries, and you're building buyers and sellers out of that data exchange that's coming in, okay? You know, it's not just relying upon a portal to do all of your work for you. You're actually getting engaged with the art that is estate agency. And that is why people will pay you more. Just as an example, I was speaking to somebody literally last week, and they have gone for a specific niche, which is centered around more rural properties. Okay, that's what they've gone after, and they cover quite a wide area with what they do. Now, they are earning 4 times the average estate agent's fee because they are niche, they understand what the market wants, and they are delivering hands-on service, not just sticking it on a platform or on a portal and hoping it sells. Okay, then they're not interested in that. They are doing the work that is centered around actually getting the listing and then getting it sold. And that's why they're earning 4 times the amount. So they can afford to be very picky with the business that they're winning and that they're generating. And I think that speaks volumes. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to be open-minded about getting involved with something like WiggyWam. And as I say, we can do a 3 months free trial if you want of the site, and you can get into the site and understand what it's truly all about. And then the cost per month then is very negligible. But as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos as well, that we are offering an affiliate system as well, that if you're selling 1 or 2 or more of the services that we're offering, you'll very quickly get your fees paid back each and every month. Okay, so I think this is the time, particularly as the market gets tougher, that you're going to have to be open-minded about where you're putting your time, effort, energy, and more importantly, your money. And you have to weigh that up against the return that you're getting from these other bits of software that you're on. And one of the key exercises to do, and this is not something that I recommend, it's something that a gentleman called Christopher Watkin recommends, okay, estate agent's guru that he is. He recommends that you track the number of leads that you're getting through these particular portals, okay? So if you think that clients won't use you because you're not on Rightmove, for example, well, have you tracked, go back over the course of the last 90 days or the last 120 days and track how many leads you've had that have actually come through from Rightmove, and track how much of that has converted to business for you. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, or maybe dangerously surprised, about what impact that's actually having on your business in terms of the amount that you're spending on that particular bit of software versus the impact it's having on your business, which is either positive or negative, okay? And you'll find at the end of that exercise, as a lot of people who've done that, they've actually gone, okay, this is a very different scenario once we've worked out the numbers compared to what we thought it was, okay? And it might just be that that aids you in your decision-making process as to which portals to stay with, which to take on as new ones, i.e. WiggyWam, and where you're best off putting your marketing resources, because that's ultimately what you're allocating here, right? So hope that helps. Okay, so what does the modern law firm of the future look like? Well, this is a really, really great question. I want to get into this because I think the law firm of the future is going to be affected by two things. The first is the level of expectation that the client has on what the law firm services should look like. But more importantly, the second thing is the impact on the law firm of what is known as the professional indemnity insurance. And as anybody who's in the legal profession will know, you have to have professional indemnity insurance in place to trade. And I've looked at this in a lot of detail, particularly behind the scenes in a lot of law firms. And the challenge that they have at the moment is that particularly when transactions are strung out for a long period of time, not necessarily because it's their fault, I hasten to add, but when transactions are strung out for a long period of time, what happens is the client's level of anxiety goes up, okay, and they become stressed out and all the rest of it, and that can lead to them making a complaint against the law firm. As I say, it may not be their fault, but that complaint comes in, and in most cases, that complaint has to be referred to the professional indemnity insurers. And as more and more complaints come in, what happens is the insurers view that as a higher risk and then start to escalate those professional indemnity insurance premiums, almost to the point, and in fact it has happened, where those premiums are increased to the point where it puts the law firm out of business. Okay, now that really, in my mind, is the gun to the head to most law firms to ensure that the service that they're offering to the marketplace is quick and efficient, and more importantly, ticks a lot of boxes when it comes to customer service. Okay, now one of the areas where I think the law firm of the future is going to thrive and do really, really well is through employing what we would call traditional sales and marketing departments in their business, which again, a lot of law firms that I've looked at don't really have that. You know, they might sponsor an ad in the local community magazine, or they, you know, might sponsor the local football club, you know, or they might do other bits and pieces where they put an advert in the paper, but they haven't really understood or employed, shall we say, a full end-to-end sales process within their business. And that can be a major challenge, because what then happens for a lot of law firms is that they end up competing on price. And that is the quickest route to ruin, in my humble opinion, as far as most law firms are concerned. You know, a client will ring up and they'll go, I'm thinking about buying a house. Oh, yeah, can you tell me a little bit more details about the house? What is it? Where is it? Blah, blah, blah. They take a few details about the property and they say, oh, yeah, well, it'll cost you, you know, $795 for your conveyance. And the client goes, well, actually, Joe Bloggs down the road is doing it for $695. Will you do it for less? Okay. Now, in most circumstances, the law firm, particularly if they want the business, will reduce their fee. They're competing on price. They're not competing on value, which is very, very different. And if they'd understood a sales and marketing process, then they would enter what's known as objection handling, deal with the client's objection, demonstrate how they provide additional value to the client, and win the business at a higher fee. Okay. And this is not just, I'm not just offering this guidance to small one-man band law firms. I'm suggesting it to, you know, much bigger firms as well, because I've seen firms that are in the multi-million pounds worth of turnover, and they are still struggling to communicate value to their client. They're still struggling to get a good fee out of their client. And as a consequence, they are ending up losing money on each property deal that they put through. And for the insurers, they view property work as the highest risk because it could lead to the one with the biggest claims. And as a consequence, you know, insurance premiums can rise, and then they can be put in threat of going out of business. So I honestly think the law firms of the future are going to be the ones that will commit to doing a high level of service in a very short time frame for a reasonable fee. And reasonable would mean that you're looking at probably doubling the fee that you charge for conveyancing at the moment. But in exchange for that, you're offering a much shorter time frame. And the reason I think that makes total sense is because conveyancing is a fairly people-intensive business. And the reason a lot of conveyancers have left the profession is because they feel under-rewarded and under-recognized to the value they bring to the transaction. And that is largely because it all points back to this stack 'em high, sell 'em cheap fee model that they use, whereas actually, if they were charging a premium for the value that they bring to the transaction, i.e. by putting the time and effort into making sure this transaction goes well, we're going to prevent you from having any problems in the future when it comes to selling the property. Okay, so I think there's enormous value that lawyers add to the transaction, but they need to find a way to communicate that to the marketplace. And again, for any law firm that wants to know how to do this effectively, read Estate Agent Secrets. I know it's aimed at estate agents, but any property specific business will benefit from reading those books, because it will take you through the process of what you need to do to add more value to the marketplace in a way that your clients can see that and embrace it and take part in providing you with greater levels of business at much higher fees. Okay, so I think law firm of the future really comes down to efficiency, it comes down to value add, and it comes down to charging a reasonable fee, which equates to the significant value that they're bringing to the transaction. Okay, what does the modern property buying and selling business of the future look like to you? Okay, that's a follow-up question. So in effect, I think the business of the future, as far as buying and selling real estate is concerned, is that it's a lot more centered around upfront information and educating the client about what is involved. And the reason, again, clients' anxiety goes up, client stress levels go up, is because they don't understand what's actually involved in the process. I say this with a lot of respect. If you look at the way that most estate agents and solicitors conduct the handover, if you like, the passing of the baton between the estate agent and the solicitor, the estate agent raises the memorandum of sale, that goes out to the solicitors, and then all of a sudden, it's like deathly silence. And that deathly silence can be for weeks at a time, because the client then doesn't understand, okay, so now the solicitors have got it. They just assume that they're going to be called a week later to go in and sign a bit of paperwork, right? They don't understand that all of the bits and pieces that they need in place prior to be able to move home. And because, in my humble opinion, not many people are taking the time to educate their clients as to what's involved, i.e. through a book or through a blog post or through a series of training videos and all the rest of it, because they're not doing that, the client has no idea what to expect, and who can blame them, right? So, it's a bit like, I'll give you an example. Let's take it away from the property world for a minute. I saw a post about a guy who had some block paving on his patio that he wanted to be cleaned up because it was growing moss and a bit of mold and all the rest of it, right? So he wanted this entire patio jet washing, and he asked for some quotes from different local tradespeople, and the quotes were coming in at like £500 to £1,000. It's like, look, this is a couple of hours job. It should be a couple of £100 at most, right? And these builders are replying back and saying, well, it's actually buying or hiring the equipment first of all. It's then the insurances that we're required to have as part of doing this work. It's actually doing a thorough job and not blasting all the sand out between the block paving so that it sinks 6 months later. There's the transport to and from the job. It's the years of experience in making sure that we do the job properly. All of this sort of stuff, which sounds, a little bit of a simplified process, but if you think about it, all of this stuff is exactly what estate agents and solicitors are doing. It's the value they're providing to the client about what's involved in moving that title from the seller to the buyer effectively, so that there's no problems. And again, unless you're taking the time to educate the client, they have no idea. And you can't then blame the client for ringing you up or emailing you, asking for an update or asking for some kind of feedback on what's happening with the transaction, because forewarned is forearmed. If you haven't forewarned them what's involved, then who can blame them when they're pulling their hair out in frustration, going, what the hell is happening? I haven't heard from anybody in 2 weeks. And in fact, the worst examples I've heard is where a solicitor is instructed and they didn't contact their client once in the entire 20 weeks until they emailed the client saying, we're ready to exchange contracts. We need you to sign, the contract now. And can you imagine, like, the client is blue in the face with rage because it's like, why on earth have I had to wait 20 weeks to hear from you? And the solicitor's response is, well, we're so busy, we haven't got time to be emailing and blah, blah, blah. But the client doesn't care about that, So you need to find a way which allows you to communicate quickly and effectively with your client, i.e. WiggyWam, all right? And in a way that allows you to share information quickly, with one another so that stuff doesn't get lost in the post, i.e. WiggyWam. You need to find a way of educating your clients about what's actually involved, i.e. WiggyWam, okay? And you need to find a way to provide a higher level of service to your clients for a much greater added value fee, i.e. WiggyWam, okay? So hopefully you're kind of seeing why we've approached building WiggyWam in this way to really help estate agents and solicitors to fast-track transactions through very, very quickly. And I think a lot of this will center around upfront information and then giving the lawyers the time, care, and attention that they need to dedicate their time to doing the transaction as fast as possible. So I hope that helps to answer that question. Another question here, what are the benefits to house hunters for joining WiggyWam? Well, that's a great question in terms of what is there to benefit from coming to WiggyWam as opposed to looking at different portals or reading blogs on the internet. I would say there's a number of different avenues there. First of all, I think we're the only site in the entire UK that has put together a series of training videos aimed specifically at buyers and sellers about what are the pitfalls that are involved, what is actually involved in the entire process, full stop. Do you just stick up a sailboard in your front garden and hope and pray for the best? Or is there actually a logical process and structure that you can follow to ensure that you get best value for the sale of your property, to ensure the transaction goes as quickly as possible, to ensure that you avoid those crisis last-minute negotiations on price because your buyers change their mind, to ensure that you get the right professional team on board that's really going to help you fast-track the deal through to completion, and a host of other things that are involved. We're the only people that have put together those training videos that guide buyers and sellers through the entire process of buying and selling a property. That's pretty profound in its own right, and it's something that, in my humble opinion, people need to plug into if they're going to be educated about what's involved. And the problem with not being educated is that there is a high degree of probability that somebody can pull the wool over your eyes, and that will cost you £500, £1,500, £2,000 or more, or you open yourself up to a situation where there's massive pitfalls in your journey, and as you're going through your property journey, you might find that your buyer or seller pulls out, and then you've lost £2,000 to £3,000 for the privilege of not buying a home. All right, so that in alone is well worth joining WiggyWam. You'll see there's a whole bunch of blogs and other posts on there that will educate you about what's involved in other aspects of the property journey. And again, I recommend Home Buyer Secrets to any buyer or seller out there that is looking to buy or sell, purely and simply because the wealth of information, I mean, there's sort of 225 pages of knowledge and information there, which is hard-won experience over 25 years in the property industry that's going to help you make sure that the property that you're buying is actually what you think it is, okay? And not only that, that you can find different ways of finding a property that may not be just going to the local estate agent and looking in their shop window, okay? There are many other ways where you can find properties, and again, we cover all of that within Home Buyer Secrets. So that's just a couple of angles. Probably the biggest thing that's going to help most house hunters is the exchange of information once the deal has been agreed, okay? And that's going to keep you regularly updated very, very quickly in a timely fashion so that you know what's going on, all right? And again, my experience so far is that most house hunters don't necessarily want a half an hour phone call updating them on progress. They're happy with a text message or a notification or an explanation that comes through, like, for example, a Facebook post, and then being able to comment or add value or add a document to that comment or that question, because it speeds up the transaction process. And we're all very, very busy in our own lives as well, right? So if we know something's going on and it's being dealt with, we're not then worried about it every 5 minutes going, oh, what about this? What about that? It's actually being taken care of. We can forget about it, knowing that we've done our bit and knowing that our team is doing what it can to get the deal through as quickly as possible. So I hope that helps. Yeah, loads of different fun and games for home buyers and sellers to be gained for joining WiggyWam. And I again encourage anybody to go to the site wiggywam.co.uk, set up a free profile, explore the site, see what's on there, and I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised about all of the serious information that's there to help you in your search. Okay, and what looks like to be the last question here, which is quite an interesting one. What makes you think that you're the right person to lead the property revolution through WiggyWam? Well, that's a great question. Do I think I'm the right person to lead the property revolution? I don't know about that. I think from my point of view, I'm just a guy who has bought and sold quite a few properties in his life, recognized that there was a serious amount of bottlenecks in the process of buying and selling, saw the struggles that people were facing when it came to buying and selling property, not just the buyers and sellers themselves, but the wider impact that it's having on estate agents and solicitors and their businesses and surveyors and all the rest of it. And our view was, well, why not do something about that? Because I looked around and I had this conversation with somebody else last week where they're doing pretty big things in the property space as well. And they were like, yeah, but I've never run an international business, or I've never done this, or I've never done that. Surely I need somebody else. And I said, well, don't you find that we all limit ourselves and we all kind of believe that somebody else could do it better, but actually we're the ones that have been chosen to kind of take that, forward. Otherwise we wouldn't be running that business, right? And, I don't know whether I'm the right person to lead the property revolution, but I am the person who's pushing this forward with my team that's behind the scenes that are incredible at what they do. They just don't necessarily like the limelight, and I'm not so fond of the limelight, but nobody else is going to do it, so I'm putting myself out there. And I think the big thing for me is that I don't care whether my face is on this or not, but we seem to feel that it would benefit from having a visible face in the property industry to be out there. And we are just providing the tools and the platform and the knowledge and the resources and the experience to help you guys as much as possible. But it really is down to each and every individual, whether that's a buyer or seller, or whether it's a conveyancer or a removals expert or a mortgage broker or an estate agent or a letting agent, to use this platform, to plug into it, to embrace its technology, and decide what you feel needs to be done to improve it. I mean, that we've put a stake in the ground that says we think this is a pretty good solution to today's modern problems in the property market. We had an amazing compliment paid to us by somebody very respected in the property world that said this is the closest thing to a perfect solution to the current housing challenges in the property market, and we want to take that forward with the help of the WiggyWam community, which is you guys, the buyers and sellers, the mortgage brokers, the removals experts, the conveyancers, the surveyors, the estate agents, the letting agents, anybody else connected with the property industry. It's down to you guys to tell us what you want. We've provided, as I say, what is essentially a 90% right solution. And the more you engage with us, the more you might say, do this, do this, do this. And we get to that 100%, that magical 100%. But what I see is the biggest obstacle in change at the moment. There's actually two things, if I'm honest. The first is going to rub a lot of people up the wrong way, but it's prejudice. There is a real prejudice in the industry. And prejudice takes many forms, I think. But the first prejudice that stops many people getting the solutions that they want is actually the prejudice of trying something new, okay, or going, well, it's not from anybody that I really know or hear of, or they're not celebrated in our sort of social old boys club circles, therefore we're going to dismiss what they've got to offer. That's the number one thing I think that's standing in people's way, okay, and the only way to overcome that is to actually be a little bit more open-minded and embrace it and get involved and decide what whether this is actually the right solution for you. But you can never make that it's like judging a book by its cover, right? You might look at that and go, well, why would I read that book. It's not what it's not the kind of book that I would actually pick up and read, but actually you might be surprised that what's behind the scenes in the cover, beyond the cover, is a little bit more in depth in terms of the knowledge and information that would be there. But the second point that I think is, holding people back, apart from not embracing new technology and new information and new ways of doing things, is really this kind of resistance to change. And the thing that I'm seeing more and more is that people are fixed into a certain way of doing things, and that takes time to change. And unfortunately, the property industry is probably the longest lead time for changes beyond construction. Okay, and construction, I think, has got something like a 70-year cycle in terms of implementing change. Now, the thing that I see with the property industry is that, whether it's an estate agent or whether it's a solicitor or whether it's a surveyor, they tend to look around. We all do this, right? We look around. What is everybody else in the marketplace doing right now? And do I need to be doing something different? And what tends to happen is we get in this comfort zone, which is, well, they're using for sale boards, so we'll use for sale boards, or they're using this bit of CRM software, so we'll use this bit of CRM software. Or this person's charging, 1.5% or £1,500. We'll also charge the same. Okay. And what tends to happen is we get this real bed or real mass body, if you like, of mediocrity. And that is a real shame, because it prevents the industry from moving forward in leaps and bounds, and the talented people that are out there right now being able to offer a greater value for money and charging accordingly. Now, that is beginning to change. We're seeing the agency model move now towards more self-employed people who have a greater freedom of expression in terms of what they will do for their service, and how they will market themselves to their community. And that, I think, is going to evolve over the course of the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But really and truthfully, unless people get over their prejudice and try something new, nothing's ever going to change. So when I see people posting about, oh, so-and-so put my fees up again this year, what are we going to do? We need to do something. Well, that ship sailed back in 2020 when everybody clubbed together to do the Say No to Right Move campaign. And as far as I'm aware, the numbers are about the same that are on Rightmove now that there was in 2020, but the fees are just 20% higher or more, right? And so the challenge is, unless people get over their own individual prejudice of trying something new, then nothing is going to change as far as that is concerned. They're going to keep paying the same fees to the same software providers because everybody else is doing that, right? So that must be right somehow. That's the logic. But unless they embrace that change and a different way of doing things, they're going to miss out on the opportunity to charge more effective fees that will allow them to deliver greater value to the marketplace and get rewarded commensurably, I think is the right word. So yeah, hope that helps, guys. We're just here to serve as far as WiggyWam is concerned. I think the property industry kind of gets into your blood, and it becomes the driving force, I think, for a lot of people in their lives. I love the property industry. I think it's fantastic. I was very, very privileged to have some of the best bits of advice that I ever had as a young man, which was, I'll share it with you. I was 18 and I was struggling to work out what I wanted to do with my life, as you do at 18. And so I was privileged enough to be the chauffeur for my old man when I used to take him to the pub. And we went to this real ale pub in a place called Coalbrookdale, which is near Ironbridge in Shropshire. And we went to the Coalbrookdale Inn, and I stood there at the bar with a couple of other people of a similar age to my father. And I was just like, I just don't know what I want to do with my life. I've got a couple of different options as to which to pursue, and which route should I go down? You guys have got a bit more life experience than me. What do you think I should do? And the best bit of advice that they came back with was, ultimately go and do something that you'll really love and enjoy, okay? Because you spend a lot of your life at work, and as a consequence, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're going to find that life is pretty stressful, and you're not going to enjoy it so much. And at the time, I actually had 3 job offers, believe it or not. One was to go and work at BMW in car sales. The second was to go and work in as a trainee manager in a jewelry store, believe it or not. And the third was to go and work in an estate agency in a small market town in Bridgnorth in Shropshire for free. Okay, and bizarrely, I chose the estate agent's role. And as I say, the reason I had to work there for free was because they didn't actually have any job offers available. They had no position. And I just said, look, I need some experience for my CV. I'll come and work for you for a month for free. And if you like what I've got to offer, then, hire me at the end of it. And if you don't, then don't, right? And eventually got the job offer at the end of, I think, a month. And it was on a very, very, very basic salary as a sort of newbie starter in a state agency, but I loved it. It was great. And then found my way into getting trained up to become a valuer, and then involved in the marketing of properties and selling them and closing the deal. And it just kind of gets into your blood. And as my journey evolved, and then I became more involved in property investing and buying and selling properties, and I got trained as a surveyor as well. For those of you that don't know my background, I began to see there were certain bottlenecks in this process that hasn't really changed in hundreds of years. And in fact, the company that I worked for as an estate agent, that company was founded in 1831. Okay, and I looked back through some of the archive files from literally, I think it was like going back about 100 years in the archive storage room, and I looked at what we were doing back then, which was in the sort of early 90s compared to what we were doing in 100 plus years ago, and not a lot had actually changed, and that's before the internet kind of revolution came along. But again, things have still not really changed all that much. In fact, the time to completion has just got longer despite all this advent of technology. So we want to reverse those fortunes. We want to bring that timescale crashing right down to days or weeks instead of months. I just can't help myself that property is something that I'm really passionate about. I must be to stick with this project that we've been doing, which is WiggyWam, and getting this off the ground. It's an incredible opportunity, I think, for any property professional to expose more of their business to a much wider audience. And I'd be really, really pleased if we can help and support you with your business and really, make it a better way of buying and selling property, where the professionals involved get rewarded more for their time and effort involved, but also the level of service that's delivered to the buyers and sellers increases exponentially. So that's what we're here to do, guys and girls. We'd love to support you on your journey. Go to wiggywam.co.uk, set up a profile, get involved with the site, start to experiment there, see what's going on, see how much you enjoy it, feed us back questions, comments, concerns. You can add me as a friend on there. We can exchange information, chat, and all the rest of it. And I'd be really, really delighted to hear what feedback you've got for us and any areas where we can improve. But more importantly, plug you into the WiggyWam community so that you can become a valuable addition for future generations, if you like, of people coming through who need knowledge, guidance, and support. So that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much again. It's 26 weeks now of doing these WiggyWam Get Your Property Questions Answered webinars and podcasts. For anybody who's got other questions and concerns of a property-related nature, we'll return to our normal format next week. But please send your questions and concerns and comments into us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. That's happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. You can go to our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk. Set up a free profile there and send us messages and comments through the website itself, or you can find us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at WiggyWam_UK. That's at WiggyWam_UK. And we'll be delighted to serve you and answer your questions in next week's episode. So thanks once again for all your love and support. Thank you for helping us to make 26 weeks. A big congratulations to all of you for everything that you've done to help and support us as well. And I'll look forward to seeing you on a future webinar very, very soon. Thanks ever so much indeed, guys. You take care. See you soon. Bye.